Performer Miley Cyrus dropped yet another bombshell.
We are not happy campers.
Except this one happened before she even took the stage.
I'm a little upset. My birthday's on Friday. This was for my birthday.
But the utter shock brought fans like Ashley Shelton to tears.
I really wanted to see her really bad.
You're listening to a Fly Science Productions podcast. Welcome to Stream the Machine. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Stream the Machine. This is episode 9. It is 10:33, 17th of May. We're having issues with this freaking iTunes now. Anyways, with me today, as always, is Tony DePalma. Tony, how you doing?
Doing all right.
Give me 2 seconds to freaking figure this out. This makes me...
One.
Effing iTunes, man. So it asked me if I want to update, and I say no, because I'm like, I don't want to update before the show. I want to make sure everything runs the way it should. And then it just didn't run. Hold on. It really doesn't want to work. All right, and we're back. Technical difficulties. Everybody, thank you for sticking through it. Man, really starting off the show with a good vibe today. I'm not even sure what I was... Oh, yeah, so that clip at the beginning. Hold on, I want you to listen. I capped this out at the end of it. I'm not sure that I didn't hear a sheep. Okay, so hold on. We'll play a little bit of this here.
Bad.
It sounds like a sheep to me.
Really wanted to see her.
Yeah, so there you go. Miley Cyrus has a pretty faithful audience, I guess, enough to cry and make weird noises on camera when she apparently, I'm assuming she canceled a concert, but
That's what I gathered.
who knows? So we've got a new website up. Big news, new website. Not really a new website, but just a new format. Everything looks a little different. There are some changes. Yeah, I thought it looked kind of neat too. There's some changes we're going to be putting on the site, and I wanted to make sure that we had something that was able to sort of, lend a good vibe to what we were wanting to do with it. So, that's what will be there. New stuff. So stay tuned. Give us feedback on that kind of stuff. What else was that? Oh, next week is our 10th show, which may not sound like a big deal normally. It's only 10 shows. It's our first double-digit show. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of a big deal. Because...
Show.
Yeah, you know what? We, as many times as we say, we don't get paid for this. We wake up because we actually want to do this. So, congratulations to us for staying committed.
Exactly.
So I got my car checked last weekend.
Yeah.
Didn't want to.
Discuss.
I hate car stuff. I mean, I told you that I just hate dealing with car stuff in general. I went to the body shop, and they basically said that it was some kind of exhaust hose or something. I don't remember. They were basically like, here, it's this thing. It might not even be that thing. It could be tied to your gas cap not being on tight enough. Who knows? That's just what the code says. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, cool. Well, and I called my dad. Is there anything to worry about? He's like, nah. Unless your car starts driving differently, forget about it. And then halfway through the week, the check engine light turned off. So as far as I'm concerned, nothing even happened. And I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to think about it. Whatever. It's done. Yeah,
my Grand Prix, back when I had that, his check engine light was on all the time because of the exhaust issue. The O2 sensor and the catalytic converter. We didn't even have a catalytic converter or a resonator. So it would just throw up a code like all the time. Like we could clear it, then 2 days later it'd come back.
That's a drag. Why is that stuff that shouldn't be happening? I mean, I get it that, nothing is going to be perfect, but man, that check engine light there's so many people that don't worry about it now. Like, that's supposed to be something important. And yet when I told people that mine popped up, they're like, "Oh, it's probably for nothing." Well, then why the hell does it turn on? Like, there needs to be 2 check engine lights. One for, like, keep it orange to be like, okay, something could be happening. And then keep one that's just bright burning red. That way when that one pops up, you go, oh gosh, that's the really bad one. I need to go get my car checked.
Mine, like, because mine was on all the time, I wouldn't know until something was, like, really bad.
Right.
Like, I was driving home in high school, I was driving back to my girlfriend's house, and all of a sudden, like, it starts, like, flashing at me. And then my car is just slowly like, good.
Yeah, flashing is not good from what I hear.
And I was like, all right, that's a serious issue. And luckily I was like, you've been to my house, like, down in the sticks. Like, I was on my main road, so I just shifted it into neutral.
Right.
And then just coasted all the way back into my driveway.
Nice.
Yeah.
So they released new pictures, I guess just picture.
Have you seen them?
I have. The new Batman and Batmobile from the Batman versus Superman movie. Unofficially is what they're calling it. What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think of the look of...
I like how they're going with it. I don't know if anyone listening has seen it, but it's more of like an older, more experienced Batman from what I can see from the look. Like, he doesn't look like he's a young guy like Christian Bale was. It's like someone like in his 40s that's been doing this for a while.
Yeah, and you know what? It's sort of an older... a lot of people compared it to some older actual costumes from the comics. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And it is a much older sort of... Well, I don't want to say older, but it's a much... what's the word?
Throwback?
Sort of, yeah. It's not like this weird, like, hip pulling from, original information type of thing. You know, when you make movies, you try to make your own Batsuit and stuff like that. This is actually kind of a throwback to, this old Batsuit that Bruce Wayne had. And so I think it's interesting. It's, it's basic. It's not meant to be there to, show how awesome and armored he looks. It looks like a costume, something that he would wear. It looks much more movable and breathable than that other Christian Bale suit ever did.
Yeah. I mean, like, in the comics and even, like, the Justice League cartoons, Batman's pretty agile. Like, he's like a gymnast.
Yeah, and, that's what was so funny about the Christian Bale ones, is, like, whenever he'd turn his head, he'd have to turn his shoulders because they were all, like, one piece. And it was just like, I don't know, like... He's like a tank in that, like, sure, he's tough and strong, but he's not able to move for shit, it's like, that's just not very practical from Batman standards.
Yeah. And as for the Batmobile, it wasn't that good of a look of it, because, like, you could just see, like, the first picture they released, it was underneath the cover, and the second one, it was just, like, a segment of the thing, so you didn't really get to see all of it. Like,
it looked pretty just normal to me. I mean, it didn't look like the big, decked out version that Chris Nolan had, but at the same time, it wasn't, I didn't feel like it was anything crazy different than that, so.
Yeah, it looks like a cross between, like, the Tumblr of the Dark Knight series and, like the more original Batmobile from, like, the comics and stuff. So, I don't know, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, should be neat. Speaking of drummers, I wanted to bring this up because you are a drummer. Chad Smith, who was, I'm not sure anymore. I think he is the drummer of Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, he
is going to have a drum battle with Will Ferrell on May 22nd on the Jimmy Fallon Show, or whatever the name of his show is. Now, have you seen these two guys before?
Oh, yeah.
They look like they are long-lost brothers.
It's ridiculous.
People who are listening in, go to Google, type in Chad Smith and Will Ferrell. Not only will you probably get this article, but chances are you're going to get some kind of comparison that someone's posted at some point or another. It's uncanny. They look so much like each other. Anyways, they're going to have a drum battle. They're not even like pimping it up at that Will Ferrell's actually going to be any good. I think he's literally going to come out and just make a fool of himself.
I'm pretty sure he's just going to come out and yell, more cowbell, and do a cowbell solo.
And then, of course, everyone's going to cheer because that's everyone's favorite SNL skit.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I think that's kind of funny because we always joke about that at work about them looking alike. There's two other guys I've noticed that looked alike each other. Now, Lovie Smith, who is, I don't know if he's with, he's with football. He's a coach. I don't know what he's a coach of though. He's Chicago Bears. Probably not. Let's find out. Let's look up Lovie Smith. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why would I even say the Bears? So wait, this doesn't look like...
He was previously head coach of Chicago Bears from 2004 to 2012.
Oh, nice. So I did kind of know something. This isn't the Lovie Smith I'm thinking of.
I think you're thinking of the Pittsburgh Steelers coach.
Who's he?
I can't remember his name. But he looks like the dude from the house.
It does. Okay, so wait. Why am I thinking Lovie Smith?
That's a good question.
Who's the other guy's name? Pittsburgh. Oh boy. Steelers coach. Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. Looks just like that black dude from the house.
No, okay, so weird. So Mike Tomlin looks exactly like Omar Epps, I think is his name. Yeah. Why did I say Lovie Smith? I've always thought this guy was Lovie Smith. That my world has been like shattered. Now I'm like, well, crap. Mike Tomlin, this could actually be Mark Epps or Omar Epps because I have no idea who he actually is. So yeah, they always look alike. But last, before we go to the news, I wanted to ask you about your. Oh, let me fix my freaking mic real quick. There we go, fixed. I wanted to ask you what about your turn signal usage, okay? Because that's one of my biggest pet peeves when I'm driving around. Is either someone making a turn and they don't use their turn signal. Either don't use their turn signal or they use it too late. For whatever reason. Every time I drive anywhere, someone merges without using their turn signal or do anything. And I just wish that I had some kind of nail gun or something that I could pop out of the window and shoot their tires out or something. Just because it infuriates me when people don't use turn signals. What kind of person are you, Tony DePalma? Do you use your turn signals, or are you one of those guys that turns without using it?
Depends on how quickly I need to be somewhere. Like, if it's like, I got it, like, I'm running late, I'll use it every time, but it'll be like turning it on as I'm changing lanes, turning it off right when I get to the other lane. So it's like on for like a second and a half, but it's still on.
Right. I used to give Rachel crap because she would turn her signal on and literally turn it off before half of her car had gotten into the other lane. I was like, one flash is not good enough. You have to leave that sucker on. Like, anyways.
But as long as I'm not like super rushed anywhere, I will turn it on for a few seconds, then change lanes and turn it off once I've maintained control of that lane.
Nice. Good.
And if I have to merge like over two lanes, I make sure to completely maintain control of the middle lane before moving to the next one.
Well, good on you, because it really irritates me. It really doesn't, it doesn't really affect me that much either. That's the thing, is it's like, they make their turn, they do whatever, they're not cutting me off, I just hate it. Now, okay, here's actually my next question. Also regarding this, what kind of left turn lane person are you? Are you the kind that stays behind the line, like the law says that you should? Or are you the kind of guy that goes, well, I really want to make this turn, so I'm going to guarantee I make this turn by parking in the middle of the freaking intersection and waiting until the light turns red before I can go?
I wait behind the line, and then if I can see like a hole coming towards me, then I'll pull up.
Good.
In the middle of the intersection, so it's easy to take that. But I do feel awful if I do pull up ready for that gap and then it turns red. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you know what? And I will even admit that I've done that once or twice when I'm like, man, I'm heading home from work and I really don't want to wait for another light because maybe there's someone dumb in front of me that didn't take a turn when they should have for whatever reason. Yes, I have done the deed too, where I pull up and I'm like guaranteeing myself a turn. But man, I can't stand that, because what that person's doing is they're not even trying to make the actual turn anymore because they know they're going to make it at the red light. Yeah. So then they just ruin the chances for anyone else if they would have actually tried to go at some point or another. So it's whatever. But that's, Traffic Hour. That's our new segment where we talk about shitty traffic things. No, not really. Alrighty, well, with all of that, we actually have some news that we're going to talk about. No different than usual.
This just in other news.
Alright, got some interesting articles today.
Alright.
A little different than usual. These are all kind of partially risque. Just partially, though. Not too much.
I don't think that's much far from usual.
Well, you know what? Mostly it's a lot of like making fun of guys robbing things naked or something or doing something stupid. And these are going to get a little on the... I don't know. We'll just go with it, okay? So, TV reporter grabs a pile of human feces and sniffs it for a report. Quote, "It doesn't smell very good." That was her quote. Now, I do have a clip of that. I'm going to play it later in the show, but the St. Louis reporter got her hands and nostrils dirty during a report about a farmer who uses human feces as fertilizer for his crops. While she was reporting on the story, the TV reporter Elizabeth Matthews grabbed a handful of the human-produced fertilizer and smelled it. "It's dry. It kind of looks like potting soil, and it doesn't smell very good," Matthews said while sniffing the poop. Matthews posted on Twitter that the poop was treated. Let's see. So she's got one tweet that says they treated it well. # cross my fingers. Oh boy. Let's see. Farmer Shane Rainick gets the waste from a treatment plant and admits that it smells, but he plans on keep using it. "As long as there are humans, and as long as you are eating, and as long as you are doing the deed, and as long as they are going to make it, I am going to haul it." So I watched this video. The dude's basically just using human waste as fertilizer for his crops, and apparently it smells even worse than regular fertilizer, I guess. I'm going to call BS on that, but I'm not 100% sure. I've driven by some places, some cornfields, and smelled that fertilizer.
I don't know, man. I lived near a pig farm for like 6 or 7 years when I lived in Metamora.
Mm-hmm.
And it's strong, but I don't know. Like,
do you think that human waste would actually smell worse than a pig?
Yeah.
You really do?
My roommates can destroy a toilet.
Well, see, this is the stuff that's like treated too, though. So I mean, it's not just like they're literally going out there and taking a dump in a field. They are treating it or doing whatever they do. They cook it and they burn it to like get they said they get the harmful pathogens out of there, whatever those are. And then they, I don't know, but yeah. So a bunch of people are throwing a big fit, kind of like that sriracha business. They don't like having that sriracha plant so nearby. And hold on a second, I'm gonna have to quit out of Steam if this jerkwad is gonna message me while I'm doing a show. Okay. Anyways,
how dare he?
Yeah, you know what? So anyways, yeah. So they're just throwing a fit because there's so much smell and this, that, and the other. The article is really about that girl grabbing a cloud of poop and then smelling it. Which is fun. Cool. That's good journalism, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, I originally thought this was a follow-up on last week's article. Unfortunately, it is not. Ypsilanti's mystery pooper finally fleshed out by Michigan police. We found a serial pooper from another city. I don't remember what one.
Copycat pooper.
It was, actually, I think. Because I remember reading an article about this actually before that I never grabbed for the show. This guy was basically just pooping on slides. In a park. Police have identified an individual who they believe is the infamous Michigan mystery pooper, but they have not released the name to the public. Ypsilanti police made contact with the suspect believed to be the fecal felon. Oh my god, the puns. Police Chief Tony DeGiusti.
DePalma.
Yeah, almost, yeah. Told the Ann Arbor News that they haven't been any more puzzling poops since. Wow, that's really getting out of hand. The individual was suspected of going number 2 on the same slide in Prospect Park between November and April on a regular basis. Friends of Prospect Park head Pete Murdoch said that the individual resides in a nearby halfway house. I think if the person is put out of commission in terms of what they were doing, they should be safe. I haven't heard of any incidents since all the to-do. Councilmember Brian Robb said he hopes that there aren't any copycat crimes. This whole saga has generated a lot of interest in Prospect Park from the around the country. It's great the police were able to put a stop just as the weather warmed up. Yeah, so good on that. Nobody's taking a dump in the park anymore. Kind of surprised that there was now two guys, because like I said, this isn't the guy we talked about last week. I can't remember where that was, but it was not Ypsilanti. I would have remembered that.
Yeah. I don't know, it was a good thing they stopped it before summer hit. Can you just imagine just a hot slide?
Yeah, that's really gross.
A hot turd on it.
Oh, that's really bad. Whatever though. They've got some billboards here. I don't know if these are actually real or if they were photoshopped, but it says "Do your civic duty," but duty is spelled D-O-O-D-Y. It says "Report the pooper." Help us catch the poopatrator. Good Lord. Yeah, I don't know if those are real or not. My mic keeps sliding down, and hold on, I'm gonna try and resituate it again. Today is just not our day, is it? I don't understand why it's goofing with me so much. Because it keeps sliding down, so I have to keep getting lower and lower and lower on my desk just to try and freaking talk into it. Okay, next article is... Oh, okay, this one... if you've got a light constitution, if you don't want to think about nasty things in your food... come back in 5 minutes. Owner swallows condom after customer finds it in her calamari.
That's gross.
Yes, it is. A diner at a restaurant in Anhui province, China, who was surprised by her chewy calamari. Oh boy. Was probably even more surprised by what happened next. Customer Myling took a closer look at her seafood dish after noticing that it tasted rubbery and discovered a contraceptive. That's a condom. After she alerted staff about the condom in her cuisine, owner Yi Zaitung came over. Imagine my horror. This is a quote. Imagine my horror when I turned it over with my fork and it turned out to be a contraceptive, Liang told Metro. It was disgusting. My first horrific thought was, is it used?
Yeah. I sincerely hope not.
Yeah, I don't think it was, because it looks like it's there's a picture here. It's really gross. It looks like an onion ring because it was fried in her thing. It just looks like it's a wrapped up unused one. So I guess that's a good thing. Zaitung then allegedly accused Liang of planting the prophylactic to get a free meal and swallowed a portion of the rubber. That is the main part of this story. They said if I ate the condom, they would leave the matter. So I swallowed it.
Ew.
Liang may still sue the restaurant. So, Tony, you're an owner of a restaurant, and someone finds a condom in their food that you have just served them, and they say to you, you know what, this is quite honestly really disgusting. I don't think we're ever going to come back here. However, if you eat this, we will not say a word about it. Would you do it?
Wait, they made the owner eat the condom?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
So, well, they didn't make him do anything. They told him, if you eat the condom,
wow,
we won't say anything about this. Apparently, they still did. Apparently, but okay. So now, oh god, this is just going down a bad road. But it's fried, so it's not like it's gonna. I mean, it's gonna be a fried rubber. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But would you do it? Would you eat a condom to save your business? So people would come back and eat more in the future, possibly making you eat more condoms.
That's
probably
tough. Because it depends. Can I dip it in anything? Or any kind of sauces?
It looks like the calamari here is in some kind of sauce, but I can't. I don't really know what kind of sauce it would be. I'm going to say just whatever calamari juice it came in. Whatever octopus juice.
Hypothetically, since this is entirely hypothetical, I would say no. But if it really was my restaurant on the line...
Maybe.
I would do it.
Well, okay, but then you risk this whole thing where apparently it still comes out, and they've even got the owner's name. So now he's eating a condom, and people knows he's eating a condom.
That's true.
And
it didn't work at all.
Yeah.
After he ate it, and for nothing.
Yeah, I am going to move on to the next article because that one's just grossing me out.
Okay.
It's a good one, though. Iowa couple claims they were served marijuana McDoubles at McDonald's. Iowa couple believes that they were served up some marijuana-topped burgers when they ate at McDonald's location in Ottawa. Okay, so there's an Ottawa. Is Ottawa in Iowa? Or is Ottawa an Illinois thing? Ottawa. That's a Canada thing. Good lord, you want to know how bad my geography is? Oh shit. Okay, so Ottawa. Brittany Songer, who was pregnant, and Corey Long, who had 2 McDoubles on April 26. When Songer, 23, dug in, she ate a substance she believed to be marijuana. Corey brought me food, and I offered a bite to my 2-year-old son. Luckily, he didn't take one. Then I took a bite of my burger and got mad at Corey. It tasted bad, and I thought maybe it was because he had cologne on his hands when he bit it. What? Where are you spraying cologne, homie, that you're getting it on your hands? Then I opened the burger, and the cheese was covered with weed. Once I opened those burgers, you could smell it wasn't McDonald's anymore. You could only smell the illegal drugs that were on it. That's a quote. The Ottawa Police Department is looking into the matter, and drug tests on the McDoubles are expected back in approximately 2 months. Does it really take 2 months to do a drug test? On some cheese? Couldn't you just look at the freaking thing?
Yeah, no joke.
I guess, unless they, I don't know, unless they did something, like, who knows. I can't really quantify how much there was. It appeared to be something that may have been intentionally placed on the burger, and by who is part of an investigation. We are trying to determine who actually put it on there, Lieutenant Jason Bell of the police said. McDonald's has cooperated fully with everything that we have asked them.
Yeah, no duh, it's purposely placed there. You don't accidentally mix marijuana and lettuce up.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, they, that's, you know what, that's crazy. That's about as weird as a condom showing up in my calamari.
Yeah.
That's, how does this stuff get there? That's what I want to know. How do you accidentally, I mean, I've heard some stories before of, stuff. Won't go into things. I mean, there's been news articles about Olive Gardens and other stuff, just stuff appearing where it shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand. It's all must be placed there by some kind of disgruntled employee.
I mean, my dad bit into a piece of glass at a Mexican restaurant
What?
in Florida. Yeah.
Holy crap. How does...
He's like, I don't know. He was totally cool with it. He was like, he flagged a waiter down and like pulled a piece of glass out of his mouth. Because he had like, luckily he crunched it, I guess, like when it was perpendicular to where his teeth go, so it didn't like cut his lips or anything. He just like crunched a piece of glass, and he pulled out the pieces, and it was like, this was in my burrito.
What the
And the
hell?
guy like freaked out and like ran and got his manager, and they came out and they're like, we were so sorry. And Dad was like, it's like, I'm not hurt. I was like, I don't really, like, I'm still gonna come back here because I love this place. But he's
Good
like,
Lord,
I just don't like finding glass.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. That's shitty. Well,
We've gone back plenty of times.
Good luck your dad's been alright. We used to have a teacher that would make jokes about his wife putting glass in the brownies in order to try and kill him. He'd always say, I'm always waiting for her to bite into those brownies, and that would be my last one. He had sort of a morbid sense of humor. I enjoyed it, but... Hunter blasted with a shotgun after his cousin mistook him for a wild turkey. Happens all the time, I guess. New Hampshire hunter may not be inviting his cousin to Thanksgiving this year after he was mistaken for a wild turkey during a hunting accident in the woods in Dunbarton, New Hampshire. Glenn Ronfos now has 5 BBs lodged into his body, including one in his spleen after his hunting partner of 40 years, Kenneth Ronfos, shot him from 30 yards away. 50-year-old had just killed a turkey of his own when his cousin shot him. And I had this eerie feeling, Ronfos told CBS Boston. I turned around and the gun was pointing at me. It is being speculated that Ronfos' bald head might have something to do with his cousin's mistake. I instantly started bleeding from the forehead, and I could feel the penetration on my side, and I stood up and I said, Kenny, you shot me. He was in disbelief. He really thought he had shot a turkey. The pair might not be able to remain hunting partners for much longer, as Ronfo's cousin could be losing his hunting license and may face criminal charges. I feel lucky that Kenny wasn't a great shot. He made an honest mistake. I watched this video. Dude is like... it feels like he's trying to convince us, because every second he's like, he really thought he shot a turkey. And it's like, how do you think? You know, and they zoom in on his big bald wrinkles on his head, and they're like, and he says something like, I think he mistook the back part of my head for being the gobbler of a turkey, or something like that. And I was just like, dude, like, something went wrong out there, and you're not telling us the whole story. I do have a little clip here of what this hunting expert guy had to say about it. It's really small.
A human doesn't really look like a turkey in the woods.
That's it.
A human doesn't really look like a turkey in the woods.
So wouldn't, but he's right. Man, should have pumped that up a little bit higher.
It's true, though.
Yeah.
Turkey doesn't look like a human in the woods.
It doesn't. It's so weird. Whatever, though. I mean, he's all right. And that was another thing, too, is the shots. It looked like he had been nicked. Like, I know shotgun shoots out in a big blast.
Uh-huh.
But he got nicked in the head, nicked in the shoulder, and the side, and all these other places. None of it seemed all that bad. I was impressed. I don't know how close that guy was, but...
He said 30 yards, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I mean, that's pretty far from, like, I'm guessing it was, like, buckshot, so it was, like, not an actual slug. And I mean, within, like, the first 15, 20 yards, it slows down significantly and spreads out quite far.
I don't know enough about hunting, unfortunately, to have a clue. I just, because especially when they talk about it, he says he turned around and the gun was pointing at him. I'm assuming he's like point blank range or something. But no, yeah, 30 yards. So there you go. Don't be shaving your head, guys, because you could be mistaken for a turkey.
Yep.
That brings us up to... We don't have any sponsors today, by the way, so don't worry about reading that sponsor spot. I pulled that up. I probably should have deleted it. But anyway, that comes up to trivia.
Challenge accepted.
I don't remember who went first last week.
You went first last week.
Okay, then you can go first.
All right. It's kind of related to comic books and superheroes and stuff.
Nice.
Do you know about the Green Lantern?
A little bit.
Okay.
Is it specifically about the Green Lantern?
No, not about, just like the idea of the Lantern Corps.
Okay.
Because what I got for you is there's a Lantern Corps for about every color of the rainbow.
Yes, I've heard of this.
Okay. And so basically, Roy G. Biv and then Black and White.
Okay.
And I'm going to list off, like, do you know what green, like, represents? Like, what power they have?
I mean...
Okay, this might be a little hard. Okay, an example.
It's going to be really tough, I think.
Green harnesses willpower.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm going to say, I'm going to list off not just the color, but I'm going to list off what, like, emotion or whatever it is, like willpower, and then you would say green if you knew it.
Okay.
It's alright.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes.
Okay, your options are red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, or green, blue, indigo, violet, and then black and white.
Hold on, so let me type this out. Roy G. Biv, BW. Okay.
But green's already been done.
So now we gotta take Roy Biv, BW. Okay.
Yep. Alright. Let's see. Alright. Hope.
Hope. I'm gonna say that seems like it is maybe a blue color.
Correct.
That's impressive. That was a complete guess. Nice.
Alright. Let's go. Love.
Let's see. Could that be red?
No, it is violet.
Oh, okay, of course. Violet is a very loving color. I feel like, well, I won't say what I think red is, but yeah, I wasn't sure. Unfortunately, it was the only thing I could think of.
All right. Yeah, Violet is they promote love throughout the galaxy, throughout the solar system. Greed.
That's oh, wait, green's already been used. Yellow.
Incorrect. Orange.
Dang, okay.
All right. Fear.
Black?
No, it is yellow.
Jesus.
Did you not? Did you watch the Green Lantern movie that came out?
I didn't. No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't want to.
Gotcha.
I saw one clip of him making some race car track when, like, the helicopter comes crashing down, and I was like, all right, that's it. It's enough Green Lantern for me.
All right. Death.
I'm going to say that might be black.
That is black.
2 for however many I've missed.
I mean, it's pretty tough. Especially if you don't know
anything about the
if
Green
you didn't know Green Lantern. So yeah, I thought you would at least know full power. Okay, not bad. Compassion.
I'm gonna say indigo.
Correct.
Got lucky with that one.
White. Or dang it, hold on. Wrong one. Rage.
I'm gonna guess that's red.
That is red.
Oh boy. I'm gonna guess that the last one's white. I don't even have to. I don't even need to know what it is. What is white?
Well, no, you gotta get. If you already know it's white, you gotta guess. What do you think it is?
Ah, shit. I don't know. Purity?
Life.
Life. Okay. I guess I should have thought about that. If was death black?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, a Black Lantern? That stuff sounds sweet.
They're like zombies. They're like only people who can get black power rings are people who have died.
See, that makes the whole Green Lantern mythos like 5,000 times more interesting to me. Is that there are like other lanterns out there?
Mm-hmm. And then, but yeah, if like with the Black Lanterns, if someone were to die and like lose an arm or part of their face, when they get reconstructed as a Black Lantern, they like the ring like attempts to fix it, but like pretty much just puts an arm there, but is like a zombie arm. Like,
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Alrighty, cool. Well, I have potentially difficult trivia for you, although I don't think it will be too difficult.
Okay.
I'm also giving you some credit, hoping that you are somewhat of a nerd in these topics. I'm going to name someone, someplace, or something, and you're going to tell me whether it originates, or at least maybe not originates, but what universe it is mainly in, whether it's a Star Trek reference.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Or a Star Wars reference.
Oh, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Yes.
Okay.
It is going to be, and it's one of these things, I actually think it's going to be kind of easy for you, but there's a couple of them in here that I'm hoping that you have not paid attention to the movies at one point or another, or, just. So, I'm going to start with some relatively easy ones. The first one, Commander Spock.
That is Star Trek.
That is correct. SETI Alpha 5.
Oh.
That is a place. You could think of it
Star
as...
Wars.
Okay, that is incorrect. That is actually... now, I don't know this 100%, and if anyone's a Star Trek fan, they're going to rake me over the coals for this, but I do know it has to deal with the Wrath of Khan. I don't know if it was in the new Star Trek movie, but it was in the old one, I know that. Admiral Akbar.
Well, that's Star Wars.
That is correct. This one should be fairly easy. Transporter Room 3.
Transporter Room 3?
Mm-hmm. Maybe not as easy as I thought. Star Trek, you say?
Yeah.
That is correct. Commander Cody.
Commander Cody. Star Trek.
That is incorrect. Commander Cody is actually the...
Oh, is he the clone?
Yeah, he's the guy that gets cloned. Well, no, I don't want to say gets cloned, sorry. Because that's what, Jango or Boba? Commander Cody is the name of the Clone Wars, trooper captain. So it's the name of one of the clones.
No, yeah, I remember now that we've discussed it. It's been a while since I've seen
Yes.
those.
I tried to pick stuff that was going to be semi-ambiguous halfway through. Carbonite. Carbonite with an N.
That's Star Wars.
Okay. Correct. Now, Carbamite. With an M.
I have no clue, but I'm going to guess it's Star Trek.
That is correct. Yavin 4 is a planet.
Since I have no idea, I'm going to go Star Trek.
It is a Star Wars planet. Endor.
Star Wars.
That is correct. Last one. Farpoint. Is it a place? It is a place, not is it a place.
I honestly have no idea. So, Star Trek.
You know what? For not having much of a clue about any of that, you did pretty good. Farpoint, I believe, is one of the first episodes of The Next Generation. I remember it's called the...
See,
there's something of at Farpoint, but...
The only Star Trek stuff I know is the 2 movies that came out.
Sure. Yeah, and this stuff wouldn't have been... SETI Alpha 5 is from the original. I'm in Transporter Room. Carbamite, I don't really have a clue. But then Farpoint... Excuse me, it was a big one from the beginning of Next Generation. So, all right, nice job. Not too bad. Let's see what else is on the list here. Kind of getting at a good time today. Go a little faster than usual. Wow, that brings us up to our first break already. Cool. Okay, so let me stop our jazz here. Our first song today is by a band called I think it's just Mules. I put The Mules in. I'll change that. I think it's just Mules. They are sort of a... I don't really know who to compare them to, but are you familiar with Dinosaur Jr.?
Vaguely.
Okay, me too. Vaguely familiar with Dinosaur Jr. That's kind of what this reminded me of, is what I would think Dinosaur Jr. sounds like if I had heard more of their music. Apparently they are no longer a band, but founded on a website that they were doing... some callbacks to some good local bands in the Boston scene. So this is Mules. The song is Shakya. It is from their album The Mules 7-inch. I'm assuming that they probably released on vinyl, and that's why. Anyways, Mules and Shakya. We come back from the break. We'll talk about games. We got roster Karmified, some other cool stuff, and more. We will see you then.
Let's do it.
Electrocution to your hips. Electrocution to your lips. Electrocution to your fingertips.
The farmer has been using this type of fertilizer for about the past 10 years. It's dried, kind of looks like potting soil, and doesn't smell very good.
I admit that it smells. I do.
Wiener poopy.
You are listening to a Fly Science Productions podcast.
Welcome back. Kind of a fun song. Usually not my style, to be honest with you, but I liked it. It was fun. Different than usual. I like changing things up.
Yeah.
We have a lot of hip-hop stuff, that we can play on the show now because of the record label sending us stuff and some other solo guys sending us stuff. And we don't have enough of the other kind of music, stuff that isn't hip-hop. So that's one. And then we actually have a really great song to finish out the show today. I'm excited to play. It's a good finisher for today. Let's see here. We have, okay, here's our segment for our game segment.
We're having an earthquake.
Okay, welcome to the game segment, everybody. Okay, so a couple deals I wanted to mention real quick before we start talking about anything we've been playing recently. First of all, Deus Ex Human Revolution. Did you ever play that?
I started it, and then didn't play much of it, and set it down, and it's still sitting on my shelf.
Nice. It's really, really good, I think. It's, if you've ever played any of the older Deus Exes, it's sort of it's an RPG kind of at heart, but it's also a shooter. It's really good. It takes a really heavy philosophy spin on things, starts talking about the transhumanist movement and the idea of, where we're going with technology and whether or not we should be integrating it the way we are into our everyday lives and stuff like that. It's really interesting. Anyways, right now on Steam, that is $5, the Director's Cut. The Director's Cut actually has tweaked boss battles. So the entire game was one straight difficulty, and the boss battles were specifically developed by an outside company.
Really?
When they put those boss battles in, they were ridiculously hard, and not because of they weren't hard because of skill-based reasons. They were hard because they were just overpowered. So you would get lucky if you would beat them. There were ways to beat them, and there were ways around it, and that's how I did it. I didn't actually fight any of them straight on because it was near impossible. So the Director's Cut actually had the company come back in, reduce the difficulty on the bosses, so it's a much more normal difficulty throughout the playthrough, instead of having it be normal boss fight, huge difficulty spike. If you get lucky, you beat them, then you go back from, playing normal games again. Mm-hmm. Normally retails for $20. It's $5 right now. If you like things like The Matrix, or RPGs that mix with shooters, Deus Ex Human Revolution, the Director's Cut, is a must-buy, especially for $5.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Now, is it pronounced Deus Ex? Because I always thought it was Dex, like the S was silenced.
I pronounce it Deus, but I'm not 100% sure.
My brother looked when I brought that game home, he was like, Deuce X? What's that?
That's also what I used to call it. I used to call it Deuce X when I bought the second one back when I was a child. And then switched to calling it Deus Ex eventually, because I've heard people pronounce Deus Ex Machina.
Okay.
Talking about it's a whole nother topic, but it's a literary element. And that's sort of what this is the Deus Ex of this.
Okay.
But so there's that. Also, which you may have varying degrees of success on getting this next one. Far Cry 3 really good game. Is available for $7.50 approximately. It's like $7.49, I think, on Get Games. I think it's getgamesgo.com. Normally retails for $30. Now Tony's had issues with this. He has not been able to download it, or at least Blood Dragon.
Yeah. So yesterday I was talking to you about this, but for anyone listening, I had some trouble. I still haven't been able to purchase a game on this website.
Weird.
There's Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is like a standalone game. I don't know, like, does it even tie in to Far Cry 3?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It is.
But it's like its own separate game, kind of like an 80s futuristic movie vibe, from what I've gathered.
Yes.
It looks really fun.
It's a huge pun on that type of, the whole bravado of, the Terminator. And
yeah, like
as soon as it starts out, it's like, it's just one-liners after one-liners after one-liners. And, it doesn't take itself seriously at any point. Even with the tutorial, the way they start the tutorial. Do you remember in the old cartoons with like the Roadrunner and the coyote, and the Roadrunner would be running, and all of a sudden it would stop, and you'd hear ding, and it would play like it'd show you the Roadrunner like as the name, and then he would like keep running.
Yeah,
that's how the tutorial system starts, by the guy being like, I already know how to do everything because I'm a freaking badass and all this other kind of stuff. And then his dude back at the like command center or whatever decides to goof with him and loads up the tutorial protocol. So it starts, and so the guy's like, wait, I don't need to do a tutorial. And all of a sudden it'll be like, ding, and it pops up and says, press A to jump. And then he'll be like, I already know how to jump. And then the next tutorial thing will pop up, and it's kind of, that's what the whole thing is.
Yeah.
Is like always tongue-in-cheek. No part of it is serious. It's actually really, really funny. But that's not Far Cry 3. That was Blood Dragon. Far Cry 3 itself is, they actually just announced Far Cry 4 coming out this year.
Saw that.
Far Cry 3 is very good. It's again, takes sort of this philosophy turn on things, and, it's about, a group of kids who get stuck on an island, while they're vacationing, and they get attacked by pirates. And two guys make it off. One guy is a military. They're two brothers. Not make it off the island, but they escape the encampment. One guy's a military dude. The other guy's your average Joe. For whatever reasons, you play the average Joe guy. And the whole story then is essentially the process of him losing his innocence, being that average Joe and having to turn into this killing machine in order to get his friends back from these pirates. And the idea of, how far are you willing to go, in order to save your friends and stuff like that. It's a really powerful, sort of really good introspective look, it almost is kind of looking at itself too, talking about games in general. Because, we talk about people playing games and getting violent because of it. And so it's a very sort of meta look at things, people like really getting into it and losing that sense of, the sense of innocence. Now, it kind of tossed that stuff by the wayside toward the end, unfortunately. It goes like heavy philosophy. And then at the very end, it's like, oh, wait a second, I forgot we've also got a plot. And then they decide to finish out on the plot about the freaking things on the island and some voodoo stuff. And so it kind of failed for me at the very end. Still very good though. It's $7.50, retails for $30. I think I already said that. That's on Get Games though. So unfortunately you may not be able to get that. If you could, that is a game to get. It is open world. Runs kind of like a Skyrim sort of thing,
Yeah.
Capturing bases. It's very, I really was impressed with,
See, I haven't beat it, but I've put like plenty of hours in just running around the island, like hunting things, crafting things.
Oh yeah, there's so much, like, I think I took down all the outposts. Even that will take you a good portion. I mean, like, there's a lot of extra good stuff to do in that game. So that's definitely a game to buy. If you can't get it today, just watch for it on sale. Put it on your watch list on Steam's. Always check out cheapshark.com. That's where I get all my stuff. We're not sponsored by them, but, that is where I find all the deals that I like to go to.
Yeah.
It's like 1 o'clock Eastern time that about all the times change. So it'd be about noon for you. For Central Time, anyone else can figure out their own time zones. Just check back every day after that time, and they should have new stuff.
Yeah.
Currently playing. Just wanted to follow up on last week. I finished Bound by Flame. Really enjoyed it. Very, very, very difficult final boss fight. It was like, okay, so it's an action RPG, right?
Yeah.
An action RPG, a couple of minutes is kind of a long time because it's an action RPG. So you're always, doing stuff. Took me about 30, 40 minutes to beat the final boss. Of just straight. I mean, it was difficult. It was fun, but difficult. But I beat it. I really liked it. It was not not as polished as the AAA title, but it was still very good. And then in prep for Van Helsing, The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing 2 coming out, I played through The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing, the first one, and really enjoyed that. Much shorter, probably took me maybe 15, 20 hours to beat. But for $15, that was a very good experience. And the second one comes out on May 22nd, I think.
Nice. So
just this next week it'll be popping out. And then now I'm playing a game called Of Orcs and Men, which is actually done by the Bound by Flame guys. So the only reason I'm playing it is because I had it, and then I was like, you know what, I'm kind of in a mood for that, kind of good, but kind of, not great. Although I would argue that Of Orcs and Men is much more polished than Bound by Flame was. It basically, it tells a story of humans oppressing orcs and goblins, and you play a pair of an orc and a goblin, sort of this odd couple kind of match, as you try to assassinate this human leader because of the discrimination and all that, the slavery going on with your race. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting look. It actually puts humans in the villain spot rather than having orcs and that was their whole intention, was they wanted to tell a story where the normal fantasy bad guys, orcs and goblins, are not seen as the bad guys.
Yeah.
They're actually the heroes of the story. And it's interesting because, they say heroes, but they're not like, oh, all of a sudden they're just righteous heroes. No, they're still kind of their badass, orcs and goblin selves, doing their things. But the humans are so much worse than they are. The whole, suppressing, and it puts an interesting spin, because you look at that stuff like Lord of the Rings and so many others where, orcs are your main bad dudes.
Yeah.
And, it takes a look from the other way around saying, yeah, okay, well, they are bad guys, but look at this. What if the story was told this way?
Yeah.
So,
that's interesting.
It is. I actually really enjoy it. It's fun. I'm actually hoping that I might finish that today and move on to something else because I've been playing that a bunch this week. You been playing anything good? I saw you boot up Portal 2 last night, but you said you'd already been through that.
Yeah, yesterday I beat it this last week for the 5th time probably. But I just booted it up just to show my roommate because he'd heard me talk about it, but I hadn't really seen any gameplay of it.
Right.
And I just told him about the physics of it and using portals and stuff. But no, actually that's the last thing I've played. More nice. So, the game I've been playing is Frisbee golf.
Nice.
Not a computer game.
The real life games.
I never got. It's in RL. There's no respawn points. But it's still pretty fun.
My roommates loved Frisbee golf. Now I never really got into it, but I imagine maybe if I had tried it would be fun. I've played it before. I can't remember where, but my old roommates used to really get into that, play it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just now the weather's kind of rainy and crappy, but earlier this week it was pretty nice. And me and my roommates, we just started playing. This is our first, I guess, spring that we've ever played. And there's a Frisbee golf course 2 minutes from our house. So it's literally just a drive down the street.
That's really nice.
It's just a cool way to kill an hour.
Yeah, definitely. I have a link here from Ross. It's apparently how to pronounce what I would say Deus Ex Machina. Let's see how this is. It'll tell us at least how to pronounce the beginning.
Deus Ex Machina. Deus Ex Machina. Deus Ex Machina.
So
Deus?
there was you pronounced it differently the first time, but let's see. Yeah, so there we go. Deus, at least, or something like that. Now,
Gotcha.
the Machina part, I was always confused about because I've heard it pronounced Machina before, but usually in a different, like Machina sometimes in fantasy games or literature, anything like that, refers to like machines. So I always assumed it was probably Machina if we were talking about it in English context, but apparently it is Machina. So cool, Deus Ex Machina. Nice. Let's see. Right, well, that brings us just about to Ross's segment. We are just bowling through on time today, which is good because now we have extra time for Ross, and he can talk all he wants. Let's see. Let's get his stuff playing on the show.
We are the movement that is taking matters into our own hands to instill change in the world, simply by being the change we want to see. It's not about money, politics, or religion. It's about us. Join the groundbreaking movement at karmafy.com.
Ross Bays, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, fellas. The show's looking good so far. How's everything going?
Not too bad. We are. I'm not even sure. We're not even trying to go fast today, and we're only at the halfway point for the show. It's so weird to me. I don't know what we did. If we left out a segment or something, or
sounds smooth on my end.
So cool. Well, you're here, and what have you been playing game wise recently? Anything besides from DayZ?
Yeah, Daisy is taking up most of my free time with the family. I keep having this inkling inside of me to get back into World of Warcraft again, but I just can't seem to find a niche, you know?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what's really been in my mind for the last couple weeks is this game called Second Life. Have you heard of this?
Oh, I have, yes.
Now, I don't know if you've ever played it or familiar with it, and I've never played it myself, but Annie and I watched this documentary on Netflix about Second Life, and it was basically just about these 5 different people that have become obsessed with the game, and the game just took over their whole lives.
Yeah, it's basically what I would that's the stigma it has for me. When you mention Second Life, that's what I think of, is that sort of I don't want to say crowd or audience, but the people that just kind of let it get too far.
So you haven't had that experience yourself?
With that game or with another game?
With that game.
No, I've never played Second Life. I haven't even. Gee, I'm trying to think. When I think in high school, it had such a weird sort of like, okay, because you can do some weird stuff in Second Life.
Yeah.
You know, and not saying that the people that do it are weird, but you have the capability of doing certain things in that game that you generally don't have in other games. Yeah. That kind of gave it sort of a weird, like, I probably shouldn't be doing this feeling to me whenever I was young enough to try it. As I was just like, I don't know if this is for me. Yeah. But that said, yeah, I've never actually done anything, nor have I seen a documentary about it. I feel like that could be potentially really interesting.
Yeah, when I hear Second Life, all I can think of is some quote from The Office. Because I don't know anyone that's played it. I've never played it. But do you guys watch The Office?
I've seen it. I did.
Nothing's fruit.
Nothing's popping out when you say it, though.
Yeah, I got the quote pulled up. I signed up for Second Life about a year ago. Back then, my life was so great that I literally wanted a second one. Absolutely everything was the same, except I could fly.
Yep.
That's really funny.
Yeah, so we watched this documentary, and I kind of missed the feeling of being completely pulled into a game where I don't want to go to sleep. I don't want to shower. You know, like I kind of...
Yeah, you know, I do. You mentioned World of Warcraft, and it used to be, I'm sure for both of us at one point, it used to be to that point where we're like, oh my god, it's raid night, I can't eat, and then you go run and do your raids. Yeah, it is kind of a bummer not to have that anymore. As much as it feels weird to say that, like, man, my life isn't sucked up by video games. It's so... unfortunate, but it's, you know, there's such a, I don't know, it feels nice to sort of be devoted and to be like sucked into something like that. Because right now I'm like, all right, what game can I play next? You know, like I've got so many options. Yeah, so cool. Well, awesome. You have sort of a different topic for us than usual. I'm assuming this is more of a learning session than.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about, because I hate to just jump on it and actually do some kind of lecture, and I don't want to be just like talking at everybody for the next 30 minutes or whatever. So at any point, you guys want to interrupt or ask a question, throw it in there. I want it to be as interactive as possible, because I think that the message is really important, and it has really nothing to do with Karmified or, good versus bad or just living a better life. For me, it's more about the message of just how to be safe in a world that can be pretty ugly sometimes.
Right. So
what I wanted to talk about today was, something that we see in the news, unfortunately, a lot is this whole, the situations of active shooters where you're in a building or you're in some type of environment where all of a sudden somebody shows up with a gun and people are getting hurt. And I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be a shooter situation. It can be someone with some type of weapon or something terrible has happened. So that's kind of what I wanted to throw out at everybody.
Okay.
And I went on the Stream the Machine Facebook page, and back in April on the 26th, I had posted this link to a video because I think we had mentioned it at some point.
Yeah, you had talked about, I don't know if you said it was from the Department of Defense or somewhere, and you had mentioned it on the show, saying, how it was something definitely that we should check out.
Yeah, the Department of Homeland Security had created this video called Run, Hide, Fight, which was essentially kind of not a tutorial per se, but, a video of raising awareness for what options you have if you find yourself in a situation where something really, really terrifying is happening to you.
Right.
So let me ask you guys, have you, it doesn't necessarily have to be a shooter situation where you've been in an environment where someone is shooting at somebody else, but have you ever been in a situation where you felt like this is dangerous? Like I could be really, really hurt right now.
I can't say I have.
Yeah, me neither. Aside from having probably a buddy in college drive like a moron when I was a passenger. I can't really.
Yeah.
I've never actually been in a fight or flight situation.
Okay. And that's good. That's what I tell my students, because really I do an hour-long talk every week for 50 students from the Department of Defense, and I discuss mindset and situational awareness and kind of just how we need to be prepared for just the way that the world is generally.
Right.
And what I tell them is, it's what gets people a lot is that they don't have the mindset to overcome adversity in dire situations or dire conditions. And you don't have to be some type of big special forces warrior. You don't have to be a Department of Defense type of person. It's just every single day you make a decision that you're going to come home at the end of the day. And that's it, period. And whatever it takes to do that, that's just the way that it has to be.
Right.
So the video that the DHS put out is called Run, Hide, Fight. And it essentially just says that if you find yourself in a situation where someone is trying to harm other people, your first line of defense, bar none, is to run. If you can hear gunshots or if you hear some type of screams or whatever, go the other way. Run the other way. And if you have, an access to an exit, get out. And at all costs, run out. If somebody is there with you and you can grab hands and just run for the exit, that's what you have to do.
Uh-huh.
So if that's not an option, though, and you can't run for whatever reason, your next option is to hide. Barricade yourself in a room, shove something in front of the door, turn off your phone or just be quiet and wait for help to arrive. That's if you don't have the option to run. And of course, the last one would be to fight. If you have barricaded yourself or you can't run and you find yourself almost face to face with somebody that is trying to hurt you or hurt somebody with you, you have to make the commitment to fight back. Grab something that can be used to hit somebody else, whether it's a stereo or a fire extinguisher or a spoon, and just go for it and actually fight back. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. It makes sense.
Yeah, and it's not easy to even think about because, me, I see the good in everybody. Yeah. I think that everybody, I think that problems can be solved with hugs and kisses, and I'm a supporter of the bronies. So, I don't like to think that the world is terrifying and that you have to walk around with your head on a swivel and thinking that, every day that I leave the house, I could get shot at for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So but it's definitely something that we should think about. Because if you think, if I generally assume that most of the listeners of the show are college aged, or they will be, at some point, where we see these things in the news happen all the time, happening in universities and colleges, where somebody gets a bad grade or there's bullying happening, and then the only way they know how to deal with it is through violence. So that's what I worry about. And if we can push the message out to these kids, or just to anybody, because it's not just college kids, it's not just military personnel, it's every single person that walks around in the public eye. I mean, you could come across a situation where your life's in danger. So I think if anything, it's a way of getting the word out to everybody that if you find yourself terrified and you feel like, I'm in a lot of trouble, what options do I have?
Right. I mean, we mentioned it before, I think, especially on, I think that episode where you filled in for Tony, and we talked about, at least specifically with my experience and, doing some of the martial arts, and how that kind of made me think sometimes to sort of think ahead about some things is, it might feel like paranoia to a point of saying like, well, what if this happens, and then this is what I'm going to do, and then you sit there and you tell yourself like, that won't happen. I'm just being paranoid. Yep. And guess what? It's like, okay, even if it is a degree of paranoia or something that you're just sort of quote unquote overthinking it, you are still going to be more prepared for something if you have at least some kind of something in your head of what you want to do or how you should react or something. I overthink everything, and the way I see it is I don't actually see that as a negative, because there's a lot of times where I'll have to sort of pull myself back and say, okay, I'm thinking way too much about that, whatever. But the thing that is nice about having that as a quote unquote issue is that it has me prepared for all these other scenarios that I've sort of, created, so that if that is, it's probably never going to happen. It's the likelihood of that particular thing, whatever bad thing it is happening, is probably pretty slim. It does happen, but it's like that whole, 1 in a million sort of thing. That's why that's why we think of it that way, is because we do see it happen, but then we never know anybody that it actually happens to. Well, there's no discrimination when it comes to the laws of the universe. It's just because it didn't happen to you means that you didn't get the luck of the draw that time. You could get it next time. And so being prepared is not, I don't think, a bad thing. It's if it. I don't know. I think people kind of worry. I think that's one thing that they don't want to think about, is because if they think about the contingency plan, that they think that they're somehow like enabling it on themselves. They're saying to themselves, well, if I come up with a plan for if this happens, well, then it's just going to happen to me. It's like, well, shit, if that's the case anyways, like, wouldn't you rather be prepared?
Yeah. It's really interesting that you mentioned that whole, like, putting that kind of energy out there, and it comes back to you. Like, Tony, have you ever been in a situation, or just walking down the street, and for no reason that you can understand, you kind of get just that bad feeling?
I mean, occasionally, like, I get the feeling, but I mean, ever since, like, in January, I think I've talked about this in the show, like, my house got broken into and robbed.
Yeah.
While I was upstairs sleeping.
Wow.
That's rough.
So, I mean, ever since then, if I'm home alone and I know, like, my roommates aren't, like, or somewhere, and, like, and one of them happens to come home early, like, I've got stuff, like, I have things, I guess, weapons.
Yeah.
Like,
weapons is what I like to call them.
In easily accessible places.
That's good.
And, like, before I know who it is, like, I make sure I find out who it is before.
Yeah. Right.
Identify yourself.
Yeah.
No, I don't, like, not even yelling like that, but, like, being stealthy in my house so I would get the jump on.
Yeah.
Tony's very agile. I always... It's funny because I always make fun of you saying that you're basically the guy from Assassin's Creed. Because not only was Tony a big fan of Assassin's Creed, but he also does that kind of, like when we were working at the theater or something, he's always jumping over this and jumping over that and doing all these things. And I'm like, damn, dude, like you can move.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel kind of paranoid, but like I kill all the lights everywhere.
Yep.
Because I know, like, that's my number. Like, if someone's gonna break into my house, I'm gonna turn off every single light, just because I know my house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're not going to.
So, like, I'm familiar with my house in the dark, but someone else isn't.
Right.
Unless
like,
it's that guy from January coming back for a second hit.
I guess maybe. But like, even at work, like you've been in the projection booth.
Yeah.
Like I work with the lights off.
Nice.
And all the other managers are like, "Well, it's so scary with the lights off." And I was like, "How?" They're like, "Well, someone could be hiding around the corner or
They're
something."
not going to see you.
I was like, one, they're like, "Good luck, like finding me," because it's kind of a maze. And the second, I was like, I'm in this booth like 30 hours a week. Like I know my way around this.
Yeah,
place.
Like everything about it.
Yeah.
Like I would be the person sneaking up on someone else trying to sneak up on me.
Enzo De Palma. That's good.
Yep.
What about you, Jay? Have you ever had that happen to you?
I mean, I don't know. There's been a couple times just in. I used to live out when I lived with my parents. We lived out on the edge of the woods in this old subdivision, and there were occasionally times where I would be, maybe they'd be out doing something, and I would either think I heard a door, or think I heard something somewhere, and would have to snoop the house because I could my brain was making it worse than I thought, thinking someone's in the house, probably not. They probably weren't, but it just happened to go through there, and you kind of get in that sort of defense mode. But I don't know if I've ever actually been in a situation like that. I mean, occasionally when you're walking in the bad parts of town or something, you get sort of a weird, like, okay, I need to be ready for this.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, okay, so that thing kind of does happen occasionally. Like I said, like sort of like the bad parts of town thing. There are occasions where I will be walking and then all of a sudden I'll just go ahead and grab my keys in my pocket and make sure that they're lodged. Like, I'm gripping them pretty intensely. That way if something were to happen, I've got something that can jab into an eyeball if I have to.
Sure. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I tell my students and my clients is that, sometimes when you get that hair that stands up on the back of your neck, like sometimes maybe that's just the universe trying to tell you something, Yeah,
well, look at Turkey Guy from earlier today. I mean, getting the hair standing up on whatever hair he had on his head, but it's it's your spidey senses kicking in.
Yeah, and I'm. Go ahead.
I was gonna say after we talked, I remember like the most memorable time. I guess not really that memorable, but I forgot about it until like just as Jake was talking. But I used to work at a fairgrounds, and it's a big fairgrounds, like a couple 100 acres.
Yeah.
And there was in one of the, like, I guess, arena area, there was a circus going on, and I was working just like maintaining the grounds. And I'm walking down in between a couple like sheep barns where like no one is. And I look behind me and some guy's just kind of like walking, like following me.
Oh boy.
I'm like, and I was like 16. This was like my first job, and I was like $130. I was tiny, and so I'm like, all right, well, he shouldn't be following me, but like, it's not like the place is open right now, so I can't really like, hey, you're you shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So like, I keep walking, and like, I walk down between another couple barns and took back, and he's still following me. I'm like, all right, something's like, it's kind of fishy here. So like I keep walking, I kind of like walk back kind of towards where more people would be. And then as I make another turn, as we were talking about earlier, climbing things, I climbed up onto the roof of this barn.
Nice.
Just real quick, like, and then like kind of got like, looked between like a couple panels and I could like see him. And like right as I turned to the corner, like I could see him starting running down alongside of the barn trying to find me, and then he looked around the corner and was like looking for me.
Weird.
And I don't know what he wanted. Like,
he
if
probably
just
dropped
needed,
a $20 bill.
Like, if he needed help,
Just trying to
if he
return
needed
it.
help with something, then like he would have like flagged me down. But I don't know.
That's so.
That put me on edge for the rest of my shift because I work like I'm like the only one in like once it closes, I have to like make sure everything's locked down. So I'm like the only person in some giant fairgrounds. Supposed to be.
That's rough. That is the worst
So I was
place.
like walking out in the middle of the parking lot, and we have to kill the parking lot lights at each parking lot light. So like I have to go out with a big stick and turn off the light.
Nice.
At each little telephone pole. But I don't know. That's
plenty of times to be attacked there.
Sketched me out.
Wow. But and you still think about it to this day. You remember exactly how the whole thing happened.
Yeah. But I was like, I don't know. I was pretty small back then. I don't think I could have defended myself very well.
But you know what, though? And that's an interesting point because maybe you couldn't have, but the fact that you were at least aware of what was happening around you, you were able to prevent something bad from happening. You know, like I discussed like these different color codes of awareness, and the first level of situational awareness is white, which means tuned out and oblivious. And when you think of people being oblivious in today's world, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
People with their headphones in on the subway, not paying attention to anything.
And
like,
locked into their smartphones.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought. I was trying to make sure I like answered the question right. I was like, oh, what's he asking? But yeah, I would have said basically technology in general.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can see it everywhere you go. I mean, people can't even drive down the street anymore without being on the phones.
Right.
They're totally oblivious to what's around them. And I mean, like I said, I think that you being 16 and having your head on a swivel, you could have prevented something really bad from happening. So, I mean, if anything, like there's this huge video going around Facebook now of this guy, Zach something, and Bert from Sesame Street talking about unplugging your phone and going out and enjoying a sunny day. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if you have to unplug sometimes, especially in like urban areas or really highly populated areas, if you're walking from your car to school or to your office and back, parking garages, things like that, like, you know, get your head up. Because I know that I've done a number of jobs throughout my career where like the job was to go take somebody down. It was like, you know, I have to find the easiest target, the softest target of these 25 people and then snatch them up, take them away, you know, and whether it's for training or whatever the case might be, you always kind of stop and you watch everybody. And if someone has their head up and they're looking around and they're aware, you don't mess with them because they're going to see you coming and it's going to ruin the element of surprise. But someone that's face first into their smartphone and is giggling and laughing, headphones in, they're the easiest people that you can just run up and grab hold of, and they never would know any different.
Yeah,
you know?
it's going to take them 5 minutes before they realize what just happened.
Yeah. So situational awareness is a big thing, and if anybody really gets anything out of what I talk about today, it's simply this. You know, be aware of what's around you, and regardless of the fact that you think it can't happen to me, or I'm just a little college kid and I don't have any money or I have nothing to offer, it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's just the fact that you are a small female or a small male or you look like you could have money on you or, I mean, who knows? Sometimes it's a matter of just somebody wants to hurt somebody. So have your head on a swivel, you know, pay attention to what's going on and don't adopt that mindset of, that's not going to happen to me. And hopefully, like we said, it never will. You'll never see anything like this. But if something does happen to you or happens near you, you at least understand that you have options where I can run, I can hide if I have to, and at the absolute last resort, if I have to fight, then that's just what I have to do, you know? I mean, it's scary, but it's worth talking about.
You better be prepared. I mean, it's we both said it 5,000 times now, but, you know, it's why would you not want to be prepared? You may not want to think about the reality of it because it scares you, you know, like, oh, I don't want to actually, no one wants to be in those situations, you know, like,
right.
Anyone who's in them, even if they're prepared, never is like, well, maybe some people are, but most people aren't like, oh, I hope this happens to me so I can, you know, test my mettle or, you know, whatever. It's like,
yeah, they're called sociopaths.
You know, most of those people are just like, oh shit, okay, so at least I'm ready. And then they, you know, they do their, you want to be one of those people. You want to be, you're going to be so much better off being one of those guys than you are the ones who are just like, what? Because by that time, depending on the gravity of the situation, you're already dead. You know, it's like,
yeah, it could be too late. Yeah. You know, I tell people that my biggest fear, above all else, is a home invasion. Like, that's my biggest fear. That's the event that I worry about the most. Because I figure if I get into an ambush somewhere, I'm most likely heavily armed with a whole bunch of people that have a lot of training, just like me, and we have a lot of guns.
Right.
You know, so I don't worry about that. But
Yeah.
I worry about, you know, being asleep and the door gets kicked in and there's bad people with guns that want to take us down for whatever reason. You know, you hear all these horrible things like what happened in Connecticut with that guy and his family, and there's horrifying things that happen to people for no other reason than there's bad people out there and they just do what they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my biggest fear is the home invasion. And if anything, like I don't want to be the one that all of a sudden is prepared as it's happening and I'm trying to figure out what to do. Like I already have, like, you know, a home alarm system. I have the extra locks. I have a dog that can make noise. I have a weapon. Like whatever it's going to take to keep my family safe, that's just the way it has to be.
Right. That's good thinking. Although when you relate that scene to me of the home invasion in Ross's house, I immediately picture like Jason Bourne action of like dude basically putting his hand on your shoulder when you're sleeping, you like breaking it instantly and then just beating the shit out of everybody. Like that's what I picture right now. It's flashes, guns going off, and Ross just punching everybody in the nose and breaking it, and that's how
I'm glad that you picture it that way, but most likely it would be something similar, but I'd be wearing my feety pajamas. I'd have like Cheeto dust all over the bed.
Oh God,
and hopefully it would end the same way.
That'd be
a lot
great.
less glorious. But anyway, I guess the whole point is that, you know, it's something that nobody wants to think about. And if it's college students or if it's your everyday soccer mom or stay at home dad or whatever, everybody should know that if they end up in a situation where they're absolutely terrified and they don't know what to do, first of all, that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to be scared. You're supposed to be terrified. You're probably going to freeze up for a second. But if you remember run, hide, and fight, that's enough to usually kind of push you out of that zone, kind of get you out of that panic-induced paralysis, and get you to the next step. And it's just that quick paradigm shift where you just you catch your breath, you're out of it, and then you do whatever you have to do. But no matter what, you get shot in the leg, you get shot in the arm, you get stabbed, you get shot in the face, doesn't matter. If you are still aware and you're still awake, keep going. Don't give up, just keep going.
Very cool, very cool. I appreciate this is something that is important for people to know. That's, you know, that just for any situation, you know, my parents just moved down to Arkansas, and I'm using them as an example for, you know, not because they're not prepared. My dad actually was in martial arts with me and is probably also very prepared. But, you know, they are at that point where you're kind of like, you know, they moved down. My mother retired. My dad's doing his thing. Probably will retire in the next 10 years or more, maybe. I don't know. But they're, you know, when I look at them, I go, man, they are chilling. They are like good. They have got it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and those are the kind of people that will start to go, you know, we've been however many years in this life. We've got it pretty, and you sort of hit that level of, chilling out. You know, you get that. It can't happen to me. I've lived however many years and it's never happened to me. So it's not going to. Well, it's, you know, you want to be ready just as much as you are the college kid who's walking down the campus late at night, and, you know, you need to be ready for that kind of thing. It's, you know, everybody needs to be ready for it. You know, just, it's not going to hurt to be ready. It's going to hurt you when you're not ready.
Yeah, and you'll never see it coming. And if I can extend any kind of offer to anybody listening, if you have questions or concerns, or even if you just want to tell me why what I talk about has nothing to do with you, let me know.
Because he will prove you wrong.
Not only will I prove you wrong, I'll tell you exactly what you should be doing that maybe you aren't. And it's not like I'm going to tell you, hey, go to rawspace.com and buy the new survival map. You know?
Oh, that would be great. I want to do that now. I want there to be...
It's not a bad idea.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you very much for bringing that on the show. It's a very good topic, Russ. Always appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for...
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Always a good time.
We will be seeing you... you will be here next week, right?
10th episode. Can't wait.
Okay.
Yep.
I knew you were going to be out of town soon, so for some reason I got it in my head. I was like fearing, like, oh no, he said he wasn't going to be here for the 10th episode, and I was like freaking out. But
No, I actually planned my trip around the 10th episode.
Dang! That's awesome. I feel
Commitment.
special, man. Awesome. Well, yeah, to the spirit of the show. So next week, actually, now that we're kind of all here, I guess we haven't really filled it in too much for people listening in, but next week is our 10th episode. Big thing for Ross, Tony, and I. It's been 10 episodes now that we've I think 9 episodes for Tony, but we're not going to count. Or 10 episodes for us, but we are going to have a sort of a special show. We'll get a bunch of our guests on, people that either have listened to the show or that have helped contribute, done a lot of cool things with the show so far. Basically sort of just to give thanks to, people listening and giving us, sort of motivation to actually do this. Because like I said, we like doing this. We like having Ross on, we all like doing this, but it also gets amplified by having people who also like us that are doing this. We don't need the audience, but it definitely helps. And so we want to give thanks to stuff like that. And, more news on that later. I'll fill you guys out throughout the rest of the week, but I'm excited. So
gonna be great.
Can't wait to talk to you then, Ross. We will have you back on next week.
All right, guys. Have a good week. See ya.
See ya.
See you, bud.
All right. Whew. Deep subject today. All right. Well, on a lighter note, you want to be prepared for gun situations and all that kind of stuff. You also want to be prepared about helping out your favorite podcast, which is probably us. I guarantee it. If you're listening to us, we're probably your favorite podcast. Tony, how might people be able to help us if they want to support the show?
Social media is a great way to get people, just to get people to listen, new people who haven't heard of us maybe. I know it might sound as a shock, but there are people
unfortunately,
podcast.
Large amounts of people that have not heard of Stream the Machine.
Yeah, sharing our posts or liking them, or you can contributing to the page. Like if we post something in question, leave your thoughts, leave your comments.
That's
tell us how good we did, tell us how bad we did. We don't care.
We're still going to do what we do.
Exactly.
But with maybe a little bit of your input. If you don't like me doing one thing or another, I'll consider it. Might still do it, but I'll at least consider it.
Yeah. Other than that, today we didn't have any sponsors, but next time we could.
Yeah. It's getting tired of sponsoring Z the Machine. Oh, did I? Okay, I don't know if I said at the top of the show. I don't think I did. Okay, so anyone who's wondering where Z the Machine is, where'd you had it sponsored last week? I know you did the first episode. You had your graphics posted on the site. That guy switched accents midway there. But
yeah, I noticed that. It's two different people.
Okay, so I went to edit it on my Mac, which is what I do all my editing in, and I'm having issues because the file size is so big. So unfortunately, it's going to be probably put off in about another week. I'm going to look into this week, seeing what I can edit it with on the Windows computer, and seeing what I can do there. I know it can be done. I just it irritates me because I wasn't able to do it when I finally wanted to do it. Yeah. But so yeah, Z the Machine is still coming soon. We'll be ready. Check out our Patreon page, our Patreon. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/streamthemachine. Cool stuff there. You can donate as little as $1 a month. Anything helps. So I think we're up to $10 now, which is not bad. Once we get to I got to decide, because technically the milestone isn't reached until we reached $50. That is like the monthly donation. Mm-hmm. I might change it to if that's the total that we get. So after 5 months, maybe we'll work that out and get, our Patreons on the show then. But, theoretically, I shouldn't even be allowing anybody on the show unless we get to the $50 mark. So we'll see how that works. Email in your music, send it on the page, send it to me on Facebook, do whatever you can to get the music in. We're on Twitter also, at Redefine Jack for myself, at Tony DePalma 51 for Tony. You can follow the show, which you get all the updates on the show when we're broadcasting, teasers for what's coming up on the show, any kind of information at STM Podcast. The website is streamthemachine.com. Brand new website template up right now. Leave us feedback on the page or on the website or anywhere what you think of the new page. I like it. It's kind of a new, slick, very, sort of modern. I like the old one, but this one's much more. It's got a lot more information, I feel like, in a smaller space. It's good. It helps people sort of kind of get what they want without having to. That old page had that big. I never liked that big logo on top of the screen or anything, you know. So it really helped to have it not to change it up. Want to thank everybody for their help today. Tony, as always, for being an awesome co-host. You know, it makes the show the other half of what it is. Want to thank Ross for not only finding us some really good music for the end of the show, which we're about to play here, but also bringing on a really good topic, something that everyone should pay attention to and, you know, be aware of. Also want to give a shout out that's related to the music to Corey Wilkins. For Ross made a post this week about the music for the show, and Corey is one of Ross's friends. I believe he said it was the drummer that he knew. You know, the guy that they switched the drums up on last time. So this is actually his band that he does singing and guitar for that we'll be playing here in a moment. Thanks to you, buddy, for sending music and had some good stuff. He had a lot of good stuff on his SoundCloud page, and I picked one that I think particularly fits for you and I, especially the show. Next week is our 10th episode. Could we mention it anymore? 10:30, normal time. It is not going to be a regular show. So if you listen in today and you're just like, good Lord, I am bored of this same old, next week is going to be a little different. We'll have some news, I think, but we're going to pull in a lot of guests. We actually might even have a special guest interview at the end of the show. I spoke with somebody, I'm not going to say who, probably not even going to know him, who is a favorite podcaster of mine. And he's agreed to come on for an interview. So we haven't talked about specifics in the times. That's why I'm not sure 100% if it's going to go through. But if it does, that will be a show to be remembered. Great, funny, quirky guy. We'll see if we can get him on episode 10. But after that, episode 11, going back to the usual stuff. So too bad. That brings us up to our final song. As I said, I wrote down here artist Corey Wilkins. It's actually the Corey Wilkins Band. Sort of a country / southern country rock sort of vibe to it. Album is called Beyond the Bonfire. You can find him, find the rest of his music there, soundcloud.com/Corey, Cory, dash, not slash, Wilkins, Wilkins. If you want to find it, we'll post it on the website later today when the show goes up. The album is called Beyond the Fire. I think it has 6 songs on there. You know, I'm not a huge country fan, but I'll tell you what, kind of dug this song, you know. I don't really like country rock either, but, you know, I'm a sucker for westerns and motif, and especially when you kind of do a western / rock vibe to it. So I think that's, it for the show. Just remember, Tony, sheeps.
I wanted to see her.
So that's that. I'm gonna have to adjust the volume on this because I didn't. We got this mid-show, thanks to Ross. So I will adjust as we go. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Tony, for all your help. We will be back next week for one of the greatest shows you will ever see. Hopefully.
Here, rather.
Yeah. So. That is it. Have a good day, everyone. We will see you again next week.
Peace out.
Well, I've been on to raise some hell, and I've been known to sin. I've been known to stand my ground, and I've been known to win. Say the Lord knows what he's doing with every soul that he makes. Well, I was singing outlaw music for my rebel soul.
A human doesn't really look like a turkey in the woods.